And here we are, the final weekend of winter. The last stretch before a new king is crowned and... Wait, hold up, this isn't 2018. What am I reading? Last week was absolute chaos. Casey got slapped with a harsh reality check by G2 Esports, who basically sent them an oversized blue wall in-game with a note that said, "Try harder, kids." Seriously though, teams, I'm looking at you. We were promised the end of a one-team region meme, so can we split stop running around in circles on the rift and actually run towards the trophy? Thank you. We have a marathon ahead of us, and it starts today with MKOI and Fnatic. And the spotlight is on mid lane, my friends, because after all that yapping last week, these two have something to settle in-game.
I mean, he's just average. He's way better at talking than playing, I would say.
I mean, to be honest, I always knew Humanoid is a choker against me too specifically.
All right, enough with me here. We're still in Fearless Draft. 3 best-of-5s ahead of us. Winner goes to first stand, and finals weekend starts right now.
The perfect teammate! They take it all! Here comes the Crow's storm! It's not back, instant combo button! What is people? Oh my god! Claps! Everybody! You know the story, you know the legend!
For the lower semi-final against Fnatic and MKOI. Today will be the host for this day. Will be the host for the whole weekend, and I have a very special Scandinavian desk with me, with Finn, GB, and Jack Spectra. I'm wondering how this one's going to go. Are you going to be civil? Usually it doesn't go well when we have one of each thing to say.
We've been building alliances today. I feel like we've kind of found some common ground here. I think we got what we need.
I mean,
no?
I think we can work together, see what we can cook up.
We are on our way to create a new union.
The political Scandinavian union here in the LEC, guys. I'm really happy to have you this weekend. A marathon ahead, as I said it. We have 4 teams, 1 spot to go to Korea. I'm super excited.
It's really excited. I think today it's probably the closest game we've had in a while for MKOI. I think coming into this Fnatic, they've really been struggling. And I think if you want to show that you can go all the way, this really is the weekend for MKOI to show, like they have in the past, that when it comes to crunch time, they can actually make it.
But I also think in general, like I know the teams are like, some of them are saying that it's a marathon, as you're saying, and it's true, but I think it should just be a marathon towards that finals. You want to play these LTA, or you want to be playing the first stand. You want to be in an international. If you want practice and you want to be the best team, yeah, sure, you can peak later during the year, but also you want to go to Korea and you want to play against the best team to become a better version of yourself.
You mentioned LTA, which is a great segue to the checking that I wanted to hear, because as you said, we have first stand coming and already qualified teams, as you can see behind us, with LCK sending Hana Life Esports, LTA sending Team Liquid, and the LCP sending the Flying Oysters. Amazing teams ahead. We're still waiting for the LEC representative and LPL that will be decided tomorrow. But I want to check on the competition that we're going to have in Korea, GB, starting with the Flying Oysters, maybe?
Yeah, I mean...
What do you think of the team? A lot of known faces in this.
Yeah, I mean, if we can just get the lineup up immediately, you'll probably see a few familiar faces. You got Res and Driver, first and foremost. They're running a double top lane situation where they substitute them in their series. So they are actually one of the few teams who's benefiting from having 2 different top laners in Fearless. And it's not just a situation where they're like, oh, we're losing, and because of that, we're swapping in the other top laner. They actually do it with something in mind in the draft, which I think is really cool. Then Junjia, we all know him. He came from PSG Talent, was kind of relegated to CFO instead, and then this entire team just kind of transformed around his jungle style, which is very much full clear as we know it. Hongq was supposed to be like this new hype rookie coming in, and he wasn't really at the beginning, but he certainly kind of found his footing. Of course, he's won the tournament.
Yeah.
Kaiwing and Doggo down in the bot lane,
We
also
know them.
PE players, you know, you've seen them on the international stage. So I think that as a team, they kind of are coming in with a good strategy for Fearless, with lane swap hopefully being killed as well towards this next tournament. Maybe they can even take games off a team like, I don't know, Team Liquid, who is one of their big strengths being around lane swaps.
What did we think of Team Liquid?
Let me tell you about Team Liquid, my American brethren. I played 1 year in America. I can call myself American.
Do we talk about this actually?
No, we don't talk about it. No, Team Liquid coming in with a very strong performance in the final, sweeping 100 Thieves with a 3-0 game. And I think I want to give them 2 stars and a wish. So number 1 star, Yeon. This guy has been grinding quietly, and if you look at his fight behind me, he's just completely smurfing. I think mechanically he's the best player we have in America right now. And I think he's just really come into his own with the mentorship of Core JJ. Okay, that was a 6 on my impact.
It's like all my impact.
But yeah, but he's gonna come here and clean up the fight.
ADC highlights.
But it's not
like
only Yeon that's really smurfing. I think especially Impact and APA, when I look at how they play side lanes, they're really clever. We will see APA opening up behind Impact and him choosing an all-in timer to really make use of their timers very well. And I think they really are smart in the mid game in the way they like transition tempo from one side to another. One thing though, my wish, the early games are a little bit sloppy.
Yeah.
They were kind of behind the 2, 3, 4, 5K gold against 100 Thieves some of the games. So we really need to see that get cleaned up if you want to actually be a presence at last stand.
Some notes to keep in mind in case the LEC teams face off against them. A quick note on APA. I feel like his champion pool really fits the playstyle that they want to implement with the team, especially playing around top lane.
Oh yeah, like I don't see anyone in the world playing Aurelion Sol right now.
Yeah.
And he's still playing the Nico, Aurelion Sol, the Sigs. I think no one really, except for him in the world, are playing these champions right now. And we've seen in the past that this is the best way to contest with the Asian teams. Just play your own style.
Chovy did play Aurelion Sol. He's not this tournament though, I would say.
No, but he was playing against the kings of Fearless Draft Game 5, Hanwha Life Esports, Jack Spectra.
Yeah.
Honestly, one of the hottest rosters we have in the LCK, bringing Zeus at the beginning of the season. I don't know who can take this team down, honestly. It feels like Fearless is their playground.
It's been a blast to watch this Hanwha Life Esports. Every single series has nearly gone to Game 5, and they've just been bringing out crazy picks. Viper, my GOAT, has been performing very well. And Zeus as well. I mean, there's a reason why he won Worlds back-to-back, and he's showing it in this new roster, and I think he slotted in really nicely. I think their first few series were more shaky, but you've just seen them steadily improve. And for me, they're the clear favorites coming into this first stand.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It's the year of the snake. If there's any time for Viper to actually step up and like completely smurf. I mean, he did one 2021, but if he wants to do it again, this is his year.
Yeah, amazing documentary was released about Peanut, actually. I would advise everyone who's a fan of LCK and a fan of Peanut to watch it at home. We caught up with a familiar face from the old days of European League of Legends. Wadid was with us to talk us through Hanwha Life Esports and what we can expect from this team. So let's check out what he had to say.
Hey everyone, this is Wadid, a G2 co-streamer and part of the LCK global crew. Today, I want to introduce you the team representing the LCK, Hanwha Life Esports. Since last year, they have been getting stronger and stronger. Peanut and Viper brings experience to the team, while Zeka and Delight add explosive playmaking. So together, they have become a top team after winning the LCK 2024 summer, and they are now one of the biggest names in LCK alongside T1 and Genji. And this season, they got even stronger with Zeus joining the team. Now every lane has carry potential, and with Peanut and Delight supporting them, HLE is even scarier. Their creativity in the Fearless draft makes them very hard to play against. They already showed up mid jungle Yasuo Diana and also top lane Grass and Nivea. These kind of unique picks put more pressure on their opponents. But you know what's most important thing about this team? HLE is amazing in best of 5 series. So they stay focused and calm even in long matches, and the stats prove it. Zeka especially, he is having 9 games winning streak on BO5 series, so we call him Demon of the BO5. In this Fearless draft format, where games can last longer, their strong mentality is an even bigger advantage. So are you ready? This is Hanwha Life Esports, the pride of the LCK. We will see you at LoPac.
And I can't wait to be at Lord Park, honestly, and see this iteration of Honor Life Esports. Honestly, amazing to see Zeus bounce back in another environment. But there's one region that we haven't talked about yet. Anyone's Legend will face off against TS tomorrow in LPL Winter Final. And Naimira is catching up on what happened in this league if you haven't been able to watch. Let's check it out.
BLG are out and they are not going to first stand, so get ready to see a different team at the top of the LPL and at our new international event. We're left with 2 teams remaining in the LPL, and the first of these contenders is Anyone's Legend. They're in their first LPL finals as an organization, so many people haven't heard of them before. However, they are powered by Tarzan in the jungle with his early playmaking and his pathing on the Rift, and off of the Rift they have legendary coach Tabe. They are strategic, they're versatile, and they haven't lost a series yet in this split either. There'll be plenty of eyes on their carry duo of Shanks and Hope, Shanks making his first LPL finals ever as well alongside the organization, and Hope who last won in 2022 summer, and he's in incredible form right now. Their opponents, however, are top esports. They blasted their way through their opponents, including the MSI and Worlds finalist BLG to reach this point. International mainstay Jaculov and the one-man army Kanavi are really core to their early game strategy and their laning dominance. To back them up, another legendary coach in Hom has returned to the LPL and will face off against Tabe across the Rift. So whoever the LPL sends from this finals, they're going to come in with deep champion pools, coaching genius off the Rift, and a ton of team fighting brawn to be feared and respected on the international stage.
Thank you, Naimira, for these insights. I want to know what you guys think about these finals. Do you have a favorite?
I love Flandre. I'm so happy he's back in the spotlight. I think he plays such a fun League of Legends, and I'm happy to see him, like, after all those years on Snake Esports, to finally, like, be at the top at LPL. Sure, he won 2021, but then he had a little dip, but it's so happy to see him back. I'm a big fan of AL, and I really hope to see them win the title.
I mean, I just care about AL because they have Tarzan, right? So former LNG jungler, I gotta go with that. You know, there for the vibes. And I do agree with your point as well. Always love Flandre. I think it's incredible that you can like be out of the scene and then come in and still have such a huge performance.
Well, I'm hoping for top esports.
Oh, there you go. You had to go for a different way.
This is why you're sitting on the edge.
I mean, my favorite ADC is like Viper, and then we got Jaculov second. The way he plays these aggressive ADCs is so brilliant. And I think especially when they played the Jinx Lulu into JDG and they had Draven Nautilus, they just swapped on him permanently, and the Jinx actually ended up ahead in CS on the Draven, which is like, if you're a bot laner, you know that's like a war crime. You know, Jinx Lulu ahead in CS, like a Draven Nautilus. You know? So for me, they've been a pleasure to watch, and I also feel like the lower bracket story of them just playing back to back is so impressive. So I think they're going to take the title.
I'm super excited. I'm super excited for the LPL finals, for this amazing tournament that we're going to have coming in 2 weeks. But first things first, we have a winner to crown in the LEC. And guys, looking at the bracket, as we said, it is going to be a marathon for the teams we have. And G2 comfortably, the usual, sitting in their throne, waiting for their opponents. And it kind of feels like a king of the hill with BB throning on top when you think about it, being the, I don't want to say the king of fearless draft, but that's the impression that G2 has given right now, especially given their preparation so far in playoffs.
Yeah, he really is the top fodder in these Game 3, Game 4, Game 5 drafts. The way it is always busting out these weird champions. If you look at his solo queue, maybe I have something for the day later, this weekend, the Nocturne maybe. Yeah. But this, I remember his Cho'Gath game was just incredible. I love that he's playing the Cho'Gath. I think the champion is so strong in some specific scenarios. Obviously, it's not really easy to blind pick, but the fact that he's willing to play it out, the Swain as well, just really exciting player to watch.
Who can dethrone the top father? I love the versus fighting references. Yeah, it's a Mortal Kombat reference. Starting today, actually, with Oscar Renin and Mirvin clashing on the top lane. Hopefully, if we don't have lane swaps here. But I feel like when we look at BB on top here and whatever team has been throwing at G2, he was saying that what teams are missing is confidence. Confidence, especially to flash these weird picks. I know that Mirvin has been doing it. Maybe Oscar Renin is going to be able to do it. But do you feel like it's this confidence that these players have been missing so far, and that doesn't allow them to be as creative as G2 has?
I mean, it's a good point, but I think for top lane specifically in terms of like confidence coming into the day, I actually think Oscar's been one of the more confident players from Fnatic in general. And Mirvin is a no-brainer. Yes, this guy's confident. He'll bust out anything just for the vibes, you know, even if sometimes it doesn't feel too good. But I do like what he said in that interview in terms of it's like, you don't need to be the best when you pick in this champion. You just need to know what's a good spot for this champion, and you need to be good on the champion, and that can be good enough to make that work.
Yeah, I feel like Fearless is kind of like a mindset, right? And especially with how G2 has approached it, you've seen it. Like, that they're just willing to pick champions that you normally wouldn't see. BB picking the Swain into Cassante, picking the Warwick into Mbessa. It's not like champions were out, you know? It was not like we went deep into a Fearless
No,
series.
it was the first game.
He just said, you know, this is good. This is an unorthodox pick that I believe in. And I feel like that's what I want to see other teams adapt and play as well, because right now they're just trying to play the same meta picks into G2 and getting outdrafted.
And it feels like teams are taking some time, honestly, to adapt in these playoffs. And I want to follow up on what we've heard in Euphoria this week. If you haven't watched it, Mickey and Grabs were with Dagda and Velius, and a lot of interesting things were said, especially when it comes to Fnatic. The fact that they just lose their heads in game, and they just don't know what they can do to refocus. And honestly, looking at this caliber of teams so late in the tournament, that is really not what I would expect. And I'm just wondering why it's been happening for them.
Yeah, I mean, usually they ramp up, and when they ramp up, it just goes well. It's good vibe, nothing goes wrong. But the moment then there starts going something wrong, they ramp down. Like, they have been an emotional team. And the fact that these issues are there with this team doesn't really surprise me, because it's something that we still saw last year as well. It was very prevalent as well. I do still think that when you bring in a bot lane like Mickey and Offset, you're bringing them in for more stability than June and Noah was going to give you, especially from a team atmosphere and shot calling point of view. So it has been surprising to see them just fall off as they have.
First of all, great episode of Euphoria. Everyone should watch it. I think it was a really funny, and maybe Grabs gave away a bit too much.
A bit too much, yeah.
But I think the problem I see with Fnatic right now is that Upset had that weekend when he was sick, right? And the whole Fnatic kind of crumbled, which is very weird to me, because the whole top side was playing together last year with a Korean bot lane. So I would assume the top side would be more comfortable taking a vocal lead when someone like Upset or Mickey has like an off game. But we didn't see that happening, and to me that is very concerning, because if they're not going to be able to step up when Upset has an off day, how are they gonna like realistically contend?
How would you define the trends that we've seen in playoffs so far? Coming into this last week, this final week, again with G2 being at the top, 3 teams looking at contesting them, how would you rate the balance of power in the LEC right now and the teams that are hoping to make it a final?
I still have a lot of hope in Fnatic. I think, you know, the past is the past. They had 2 bad weeks, but they showed throughout all of last year that they were the team that could actually at least get to the finals versus G2. And they arguably upgraded in the bot lane department. And it's just, for me, having a few bad games, it happens. Every team has these ups and downs and slumps, but it doesn't define their whole team, you know? So for me, it's the team that I have the most faith that could beat G2 and could actually do something other than just being a classic G2 wins everything as per usual.
Yeah, we don't want that.
But I will say from a, like, even a storyline perspective, right? And I don't want to dive into it. Oh, it's just a narrative, right? But we have seen these things happen with Fnatic before, where it's like, it's looking good. And yes, you're right. They're the team that needs to beat G2. You're right, they are. But is it enough to be the team that should beat G2? Like, at some point, it's like, oh, we need to be the team that just lifts the trophy. We need to be the team that teams want to beat. And it's so sad, because it's just the same story for Fnatic. They lose to G2. They go down. The series against BDS was very questionable, and it did not give me a lot of confidence.
I think the key is Fearless drafts. Because for me, that's been like, all the teams looked similar. And then suddenly when Fearless came, G2 started drafting way better, while all the other teams just kept drafting the same. So what I really need to see from Fnatic is just that they've gotten smarter with how they play their champions and thought about interesting counter picks to bring out. Because that's the way you have to beat G2. When they played against G2, they gave them the Pantheon into Vi and got stomped. They gave them the Warwick into Mbessa and got stomped. They gave them the Swain into Cassante and got stomped. They just kept playing the normal picks, and that's not going to work.
I mean, Mickey said it himself. They were good in regular season because teams were worse. I just hope that they got better.
So one thing that I've noticed is that, okay, so the big cooker, the big chef in Fnatic, that is Mickey X, right? I think we kind of all agree with that. Everyone else plays kind of
He needs to be put on a leash, though.
But the problem with support role is that when you go into these Fearless drafts, game 3, game 4, game 5, engage becomes very hard to find for your team. So most of the time you have to pick an engaged support, and that really limits the support's creativity, because you can't afford to pick an Elise or Twisted Fate or whatever delusions Mickey have that he's good at. So you kind of always have to lock in these safe engaged supports, and that's just something that kind of hinders his role's creativity, whereas as a top laner you can just pick whatever champion you want, and it's not really going to impact the total draft kind of synergy in the same manner.
But I will say as well, like we're talking about who can they beat, like they need to beat MKOI first, right? And
Yeah.
I'm looking at MKOI right now, and I'm seeing a potential team that can run through the lower bracket and try and pave their way into that international. It is MKOI. Somehow, some way, they always
always make it.
manage to make it into an international. It is winter. They scale with temperature. I mean, the lower temperatures, at least that's what we've seen before.
Fans getting scared, gearing up
Exactly.
for MKOI to do
But
it yet again.
My point is as well, you can say what you want about GX level when they were playing against MKOI. The fact of the matter was, MKOI smurfed on them. Elua had a fantastic performance in that series, and they were straight up the better team. And they're also a team who's been a bit emotional in the past, who can scale with it, who's come through a lower bracket, as we saw in some of the earlier splits last year.
Is it gonna come together though? Because when I think of MKOI last week, super stomp against GX, which was expected for the team of their caliber and their ambitions. Enough stability though from this roster? Have we seen enough?
Well, I think the series against KC like raised a lot of eyebrows. I only have 2 eyebrows, but I raised a third just because I was so surprised how stomped they got by KC. That was really surprising. I really thought MKOI would show a lot more. They came in as a top 4 team. I thought top 4, top 3 was kind of close, and they just got dumpstered by K-Corp. Coming in last week against GX, they dumpstered GX. So I really don't know which version of MKOI we're gonna get. I'm really adamant about that this team can be really good, but it really comes down to the day form.
Calist was saying that it should be an easy 3-0 for Fnatic last week in PGL, so I'm guessing he's expecting to face off against them.
See, Calist knows.
He knows.
We know what's up. You
Or
know?
is that the bias because the KC-MKOI rivalry? you
Of
know?
course, but I feel like they would want to face off against them. We'll see that later today. But for now, Shox is at the Marriott Bonvoy checkpoint with Humanoid and Jojo in our pregame check-in. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm scared with these two.
I mean, he's just average. He has,
Okay.
he's way better at talking than playing, I would say.
I mean, to be honest, I always knew Humanoid is a choker against me too specifically, and against APA. Like he's, like no joke, in NA he's known to choke against NA mids. So honestly, I don't really care what he has to say, and we'll just see next week.
Well. Great introduction to this matchup of Humanoid versus Jojo today. I'll let you respond first, since the last, the last quote came from him.
Yeah, I mean, we played one game against each other, so it is what it is. I don't know what to say, to be honest.
But what about the implication that generally there's beef here because you don't have a good time versus NA mid laners generally?
I mean, maybe APA is just way better than Jojo, seeing as they kind of removed him from NA and he had to go to EU, so we'll see.
Possible, Jojo. Where does this stem from, the animosity between you two?
I mean, honestly, I don't really care. I feel like Humanoid gets offended easily, so it's really easy to get in his head. And I feel like my light banter easily gets in his head, which is going to happen today. So we'll just see.
Do you think the banter is needed to supplement the On the Rift performance when you play Fnatic, or?
Not really. I mean, I just think Fnatic has a lot of chokers on the team. You saw versus BDS too, when they should have lost. So I think it's really easy to get in their heads, and we'll just see how they play today. But if we play our own game, I'm positive that today should be easy.
Do you get affected by trash talk generally, you say?
I mean, I just wanted to say that we are choking, but we still won. I mean, you guys did not choke against who it was, KC. It was just a clean stomp while you guys were at your best. So, I mean, it's probably going to happen today again.
Okay. Someone does
We'll
have
see.
to win, right?
Someone does have to win. There's going to be a
Yes.
loser between the one of us,
There
so
will
we'll
be.
just see what happens up
That
to
is
today.
very true. Yeah.
On a more serious note, I mean, it doesn't have to be serious though, but Humanoid, you said it there yourself, you know, last week was really rough. Would you say that the issues that you had to problem solve are more mentality or when it comes to the game?
Probably both. Right now, we fixed everything, so don't worry, guys.
Okay, for some
It's
reason
all
I don't have
fixed.
that
It's
much
all
trust. It's all.
Fnatic is back.
Can you name one thing that's specifically fixed?
Our team fighting, laning, mechanics, I don't know, late game, early game, mid game.
Everything, really. Yeah.
We're
You saw the best of
basically
5,
perfect.
right?
I'm kind of shaking now, not going to
Yeah.
lie.
Shaking
Everything
your
is
boots?
fixed. I'm shaking right now.
Yeah, when it comes to Movistar Koi, though, I think you had a really good start of the season and expectations were really high. I think your confidence was also the same. What were kind of some of the lessons you've learned, and how do you feel you're adapting to Fearless overall, which seems to be, yeah, it's tricky, right? Let's just say it like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think the first split moving into Europe, I mean, I talked about this last interview too, but I think it did take me a while to get comfortable in Europe and just playing on stage and just everything, since it's a completely new region. And I think starting from last week is when I felt the most comfortable, and I started kind of adapting to how the schedule works and everything, and just playing in Europe. So right now I feel very comfortable. So I don't think, honestly, the process took longer than I expected, but I'm really confident going into today.
Okay, and you say that you get a lot from the lower bracket, right? But that momentum is really helping you.
I mean, the lower bracket is a buff if you win, you know?
Yeah,
if you lose,
only
you
if
go
you win.
home. So if you win and you make it all the way through, then it's definitely a buff, yeah.
Yeah, same for you then, Humanoid. I think we're always afraid that those mentality issues that sometimes plague Fnatic, right? That they are going to come back. So, you know, how confident are you that with the current configuration of the team and with everything you fixed, you say, this week, that's going to help you not only today, but also getting to the final, which is what you hope?
I mean, at least if we lose, we have an excuse, right? As always, we just say, it was just a mental issue, guys. We are actually really good. I think, honestly, the Fearless is going to be fun. We are going to fucking stomp these guys. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, have fun.
Appreciate it.
Back to you.
Thank you, Shox. Amazing to hear from the mid lane matchup and getting that mental edge ahead of the series. Now, we're getting ready for another face-off with Jack Spectra and Finn back in uniform, at least in the graphics that we have here. But they're going to each be defending a side of the Fnatic MKOI matchup. And you guys can vote in chat and tell us, who do you think had the most convincing arguments? Starting now.
Okay, so here's why Fnatic's gonna win. We saw them last year with arguably a worse bot lane, and they were still top 2. Many people just remember their final loss against G2, but they got the top 2, baby, and that's what they're playing for right now. Across the board, you got Humanoid, Gappen, Jojopyun. You got Upset and Mickey, who will gap Supa and Alvaro, and Kaliss said it best, it's gonna be 3-0, and it's not gonna be close, because the individuals and the name gap on Fnatic is just too big to beat.
Individuals.
Yeah.
You watched the last weekend, mate. Meanwhile, last weekend, MKOI came in crushing GX, while Fnatic was struggling against BDS. I'm just gonna say that I think MKOI, when we speak at individuals, they have the best support jungle in the game. If you pull up a replay, you're gonna see Elyoya and Alvaro working in perfect tandem, being so proactive on the map. And I feel like when I watch Mickey X and Razork, they're doing a lot of different things all the time, and I don't see how they actually can stop them.
I mean, Elyoya and Alvaro have been good for sure, but I think the difference is just slight. And the thing is, you might think, oh, but top lane, right? Top lane. You got Mirwin, the king of Fearless. He's going to be popping off. But if we can pull up Oscarina's stats here, actually, he's only second to Broken Blade, the best top laner in our league right now. And you might be thinking, oh, but Fearless is going to change everything. It ain't. They're gonna play Cassandra. They're gonna play Ambessa. And when we've seen these counter picks from Mirwin, it's been the Vex top, looked pretty mid. He's been the Karma top, looked pretty mid. And Oscarina's gonna gap every day of the day.
Oppenheimer told me that stats and Fury will only get you so far. When I look at top lane, I see Mirwin, and I think that Mirwin has not really shown why he is so threatening, because he's never even gotten pushed to a game 3. But I think his presence is really gonna show up, like Moses is gonna cross the champion ocean and show that in game 4, game 5, he is a presence. And if you do not respect his champion pool, you will get caught off guard by something like a Vex, an Ahri, Aurora. You have no idea what he's gonna pick, and I think he's just way better than Oscarina when it comes to this long series.
I mean, that's the thing with Mirwin, right? He can pull out any of these champions, but is he gonna pop off on him? I'm not sure I fully believe that. And when you look at the Fearless and both of these teams and their drafts, they've been picking nearly the same champions every single game. They only have a few unique picks that they've gone through, but other than that, it's been nearly all the same. Like, look at this. They're playing all the same champs. It's not a revolutionary meta. KOI ain't doing anything.
I like your words, funny man, but you talk about Fearless. If I'm a Fnatic fan, I'm fearful. What happens the moment Upset is out? Upset has a bad weekend, and suddenly we can't play the game anymore. That does not instill any confidence in me at all. That doesn't instill any confidence in the fans, and that should not instill confidence in you, Jack Spectra. When I look at MKOI, I see a team that's just complete. They're building on the foundation of last year, but Fnatic can't even keep their top set core strong and fundamentally stable. They're foundationalizing poorly.
Thank you so much. Enough yapping for us here.
Fnatic win.
Fnatic win. We'll see about this.
MKOI win. Easy.
Okay, enough of you. Get out. Get out. Get out. Both teams started with high expectations this year, but there's still a lot to prove. After last week's series, MKOI should be set up for success, but have yet to show more stability. Fnatic on the other side, ramping down, to say the least, and there's a lot more to be expected from players of this pedigree. There's no more second chances today for MKOI and Fnatic, and the marathon for finals starts now.